Opus Medtner is a concert series to be performed at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. 4 recitals to recount the life of the composer Nikolai Medtner through his complete violin sonatas, piano quintets, and the chamber repertoire of his contemporaries.
Born in Moscow in 1880, Medtner was a pianist and composer. Early 20th century was an exciting era for music composition. Distinctive styles emerged in Europe, such as French Impressionism and the Second Vienna School. However, along with his contemporaries such as Rachmaninoff and Scriabin, Medtner continued to challenge the traditional ideas of tonality and rhythm to develop his unique compositional style.
In the first recital, The German Heritage, violinist Kitty Zheng and me will present the sonatas for piano and violins from 3 composers, Beethoven, Brahms, and Medtner. Each of them almost separated by 50 years. However, they all carry on with the Romantic legacy.
Schnicker wrote his violin sonata in an old style, bringing back everyone to the Baroque era. This short piece creates a sharp contrast with the other 2 pieces in the program. Prokofiev's Sonata No. 2 was arranged in 1943 for the violin and piano, based on his earlier work written for the flute. This was written for his very good friend David Oistrakh, and the piece is highly lyrical and melodious. Medtner was in exile from the October Revolution from 1922 to 25, and during this time he wrote the Violin Sonata No. 2 in G major. It has a very grand opening, followed by a first movement in sonata form. The second movement is in theme and variations, based on a very folk-like melody. The last finale is back in G major. It has a very complex contrapuntal writing, perhaps to express his homesick sentiment for Russia.
Also known as English Rachmaninoff, York Bowen was a prominent member of the British musical Renaissance movement. Violists are fortunate that he was a very good friend of the young violist Lionel Curtis when he was still in school in the Royal Academy of Music. I went through some of the viola and piano sonata repertoires by British composers, and I particularly want to perform this one. What attracted me the most is the rich, deep, and yet pleasant melody, and the folk materials that make the music sound very much like a fairy tale.
Medtner's 3rd violin sonata is called the Sonata Epica, which is notable with its 47-minute length. Whenever he was challenged this seemingly excessive work, he just replied, "Have you heard of any short epic?" Lengthy as it is, but to us as performer, it is absolutely essential.
Fauré began to work on his first piano quintet, Opus 89, at his late 40s. It took another 20 years for this work to be premiered in 1905 by the Eugene Isai String Quartet and Fauré himself on the piano.
After following through Medtner's chamber works, we notice that the pieces are getting lengthier. But in his quintet, which was composed later in his life, he returned to simplicity. It was written in C major and was much shorter than his previous chamber works. Similar to Fauré's piano quintet, it took Medtner more than 20 years to complete this masterpiece. Also, his use of counterpoint reached a new high. Each of us in the Roman string quartet interact with each other. Together with the two hands in the piano part, the interaction between the five of us is seamless, altogether creating a very interesting musical experience.
I sincerely hope that you can join our epic voyage, Opus Medtner. We look forward to seeing you all at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology.